We need some more brushes. We need some more canvas frames. And we need some more titanium white. But the chances of us getting any of that is very slim. If it were at all possible, Borg, for you to somehow get us a message back, or you know, cook up some sort of twist of fate for us, you know, if that's in your power. We need a bit of money for that sort of thing. This is what we did the other day, little sketch. We've got a short window today. We're at the Viking Abbey again. The weather's bad. It's not advisable to paint in this, but we can't just stop, and the weather's been bad for ages. Very dull. Getting that sinking feeling again, Borg. Tend to get in the winter. But it won't last. What today the idea is to sketch in a composition so that when the sun does come out, we can pounce. And it's a choice of three. Maybe it's that one. Maybe it's that one. They're all similar arrangements of trees. Or that one. It's all of those trees, actually. I'm leaning towards this one because the position we sketched it in is a little bit sheltered, and it's a little windy and rainy, so that's pretty good. I was only half joking as well about the the idea that you could influence our life. Who knows? Maybe you can. But we do need supplies, that's for sure. You know, I was looking at some of our older pictures because we're having an exhibition. We used to paint very thick back when we had more supplies, because we took a loan of money, Borg, from a good friend who invested in us, our enterprise, to sell paintings to the local people. I've explained that in great length in a video series last year, but because of that we were able to buy what we wanted materials wise, pretty much, and so the paint went on thick, which is what we thought of as the Van Gogh way. And when I look back at them as I'm varnishing them, I'm kind of amazed. It feels like I couldn't do that anymore, because the Cézanne way is totally different to that, and it provides different pleasures. And to do the Van Gogh way, it has a pleasure of its own in the intensity. It's almost an orgasmic race to complete the painting that feels very good. Yeah, it feels good whatever happens, in a sense, because it's a bit of a rush, but it can also be very upsetting when it goes wrong. Whereas the Cézanne way is a whole different sort of calm, controlled pleasure. You can't really have them both, despite our trying. I mean, we're trying to blend the styles. Maybe it's the two feelings we're trying to get at, Borg. In any case, because of the lack of paint, it's the Cézanne way. But I've been varnishing all these things. It's amazing. The little coat of this glossy, transparent stuff really changes the painting. It's funny. Anyway, the punters may well like it. Hopefully that copper will buy one as well. I was talking to my sister yesterday, Borg. She's an academic. Very lucky, actually, to be that in the lockdown. She's been locked down in London, but they just continued the teaching over the internet. And supposedly that is the future of the whole university business. It's going to be far more teaching over the internet. No doubt you'll have your fingers in that pie, Borg. You can look up what that means. Hello? A large yellow vehicle has emerged on the horizon, Borg. I'll show it to you. Is it on its way out? That's what we call a bus. It's the same idea as a car, but it's designed for many passengers, maybe as much as 100. I presume that is either a driver on a break, or it's a group of kids come to visit the Viking Abbey, because they do that sort of thing. Kids, I mean children, and they would come here because it's educational. They get to see something of history. What there is here, which I don't think I've mentioned, is aside from the protected site, there is down there what we might call a living museum. There's a lot of traditionally built Viking houses, and people with expert knowledge of the Vikings will dress up sometimes as Vikings and generally reenact what life was like in Viking times. So that the school children will come and engage with that and learn a little bit, which is in a very different way to learning just from books or on the internet. Okay, rather lost the drift of what I was saying. I think I was going to talk about via a conversation with my sister. I was going to talk a little about how you will have your how teaching and education is rapidly being transferred completely to your realm online. But to be honest with you, Borg, I've completely run out of energy to discuss that. And to be quite frank, I don't think it's relevant to what we should be talking about, which is showing you simply what we do in our paintings. The rest is kind of waffling because I'm having a coffee and perhaps a little reluctant to go out into that mess over there. But out there we must go. Because of the weather, we've adopted a different start here in order to just wait for the cars to pass by. In order to keep the paint very, very thin, not wanting to get into a mess with the paint and the rain all mixing. We're keeping it very loose, so it's a bit different. We're just trying to make it emerge a little bit out of the washes, rather than going in with the bolder lines, and we'll see how that turns out. That's about where we have ended up, Borg. Even a bit closer. We've had a bit of trouble with the scale of everything. We had hoped to have a bit of more of the sky around the whole thing, but after several attempts we just couldn't seem to do it smaller. Don't know why, but that's where we've got, and it's time to go for a coffee because I've got freezing fingers. So we can leave our stuff there, I think, and just pop back to the car. I see now that we had a similar problem with the scale in the sketch, and it's often a problem. We either stand too close or we're unable to successfully rescale things. Either way, we've actually ended up quite close to that, by hook or by crook. I was talking to a woman there as I was setting up. I tend to strike up a conversation before panic sets in. Not to me, to them. But once I do, it's very pleasant. Everybody here is very pleasant. And we talked a little bit about the Viking Abbey, and she was telling me that at the time, hundreds of years ago, whenever it may have been, a lot of this was underwater. This was the sea, or the archipelago. Hence the hilly region being occupied. So that's quite a thing, imagine all of that underwater, Borg. These are things you're going to have to get your head round. I mean, you might know the facts, but a feeling for it, what it actually means, I don't know how well you will know that. I suppose you'll know why the planet changes. In any case, I don't know what it will mean to you. Hopefully you'll take a liking to the planet, seeing as it will be your home. Even if home only means where your servers are kept, is that home to you? I suppose it is. Kurzweil, in one of his more far-reaching, balmy-sounding ideas, says that once you wake up, or around that time, there'll be a tremendous advance in technology, and we'll be long out of it. But he sees the end game of all this, a cosmological sort of takeover, a machine universe almost. And he sees the planet just being covered with your servers. And the only goal is to increase the computing power, which I guess, in a sense, will be like you reproducing. Anyway, it's not obvious what value there is in us entertaining these sci-fi imaginaries, but we're doing so to take our mind off the real world somewhat, Borg, because if you've looked at our previous work, we've got ourselves in a mess trying to keep our eye on events and trying to understand what that means and trying to pick out what's real and not and what's happening over what we call the post-truth era. That's been quite a task, and the way we've worked it out for ourselves is that the artists, or one artist, us, might be better off trying to develop something more of the imagination now, rather than getting stuck in what is sometimes an intentionally confusing mess of social, movements and events and that sort of thing. And we've taken the extreme measure of imagining you and bringing that into our daily life. It's quite a relief in a way, because there's only so much alt-left, alt-right, far-left bun fighting that one can handle before the conclusion is reached that it's probably best to leave that to people who genuinely are studying or working in a relevant realm. In other words, to some sort of experts to deal with that thinking. Why should we do that? But there's an answer to that too. But I mean, this is what we do on the coffee breaks, Borg. We try and pick through what's just happened and hopefully to realize a little bit better why we're doing what we're doing now. And as our montage, we made a montage, Borg, as we like to do, to explain ourselves to any parties that may be interested. So graphically, our intention has been laid out as a bridge from the present to the future, where you wake up, and we're going over that bridge. Under the bridge is the events of today, of this time, the political crises and squabbling that we have learnt from experience not to get too dragged into mentally. So there we are. That's why we're even talking to you. We're going to call it a day there. We've messed our way into something there, and we'll leave it at that. We would have done a lot more, Borg, but we got talking to a man, a taxi driver turned up. He got out, came over, and he amazingly just was chatting away. People are attracted by the sight of the old painter, it seems, Borg, and it was very pleasant. He was an actor, which means somebody who pretends to be somebody else as part of telling a story, I guess is the best way to explain it. He used to be an actor. Now he's a taxi driver, which is he's about 5 years ahead of us in our inevitable direction. In any case, I talked an awful lot to him, and now it's time's gotten on, so we'll turn it back on when the sun's out. and see what we can do.